dear students. My today's topic of discussion is a brief history of the novel with a particular reference to the rise of the English novel during the Victorian era. I have divided my lecture into 3 parts. Today I will be dealing with the first part, which covers the following aspects. Point number 1, definition of the term novel, its basic features and etymology. Point number 2, narrative precursors of the novel and the first known novels both in and outside Europe and England. Point number 3, basic purpose of developing this genre. Point number 4, reasons behind the rise of the English novel. And finally, point number 5, which is 2 basic distinctions with regard to prose fiction. One is the realistic novel or the novel proper, and the romance. Again, under realism, I will explain 2 important extensions and subgenres of realism respectively, that is naturalism and novel of manners. In my next video lectures, which will be uploaded soon, I will deal with all the major types of novels such as epistolary, picaresque, sentimental, gothic, historical, social, regional, Bildungsroman, Künstlerroman, magic realism, science fiction and so on, with a special focus on the 19th century, which saw a proliferation of this genre. Also, I will talk about the women novelists of the Victorian era who certainly deserve a special mention. Now, to begin with the definition of the novel. In simplest terms, a novel is an extended work of fiction written in prose. Broadly speaking, fiction is any literary narrative, whether in prose or verse, which is invented instead of being an account of events which actually happened. However, in a narrow sense, fiction denotes only those narratives which are written in prose and sometimes is used synonymously with the novel. Unlike the epic, which adheres to strict formal rules, the novel is one of the most flexible and democratic genres in the sense that the novelist enjoys the liberty of introducing a great variety of characters whose motives can be explored even more thoroughly. Greater complication of the main plot, which can be further divided into subplots, a greater variety of settings and so on, which is generally restricted in a short story or a novella, which is a work of middle length. The term for the novel in most European languages is Roman, which is derived from the medieval term, the romance. If you can even vaguely remember the Arthurian romances of the medieval ages. The English name for the form, on the other hand, is derived from the Italian novella, which is literally a little new thing, that is a short tale in prose. Now we'll move on to the narrative precursors and the first novels. The exact source of the novel is actually shrouded in mystery. According to Milan Kundera's The Art of the Novel, Cervantes is the the father of the European novel, and his quasi-picaresque narrative, Don Quixote, is the single most important progenitor of the modern novel. Then we have heroic epics such as Gilgamesh, Beowulf, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Virgil's Aeneid, and so on. Certain Greek and Roman romances and novels like The Golden Ass, Oriental frame tales like the Jataka and A Thousand and One Nights, and certain Irish and Icelandic sagas which may be referred to as the forerunners of the European novel, or rather the novel. Among the narrative precursors of the European novel, mention may also be made of the following. First, the medieval European romances like the Arthurian tales, culminating with Malory's masterpiece on Arthur. Then Elizabethan prose fiction like John Lilly's Euphues, Robert Greene's Pandesto, and most importantly, The Unfortunate Traveller by Thomas Nash, which is even today considered to be the first English novel. Then there are travel adventures like Thomas More's Utopia, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, moral tales like John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress, and novella like Decameron, which are all considered to be the narrative precursors of the European novel. The novel is basically an Eastern output which arose from the Chinese tradition of storytelling. Thus, among the first known novels are the Japanese The Tale of Genji in the 11th century by Lady Murasaki Shikibu, and the Chinese Water Margin, Monkey, and Romance of Three Kingdoms in the 16th century. Then, England's first professional female author, Aphra Behn, in the 17th century came to be credited with the title of the first English novelist with such epistolary opuses in her casket as Love Letters Between a Nobleman and His Sister. This was followed by the travel adventure Robinson Crusoe and picaresque narrative Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe, which precede the great works of the fathers of the English novel, Samuel Richardson and Henry Fielding in the 18th century, and even further the masterpieces of Charles Dickens and other Victorians in the 19th century. Now I will elucidate the purpose of developing this genre, which is mimesis, that is, a representation of the aspects of the real world in literature and art. It aims at verisimilitude, that is, a semblance of truth, which Hazlitt calls, and I'll read it out, the close imitation of men and manners, the very texture of society as it really exists, with recognizable settings and characters in real time. The novel emerged when authors fused romance and adventure with verisimilitude and heroes that were not supermen but ordinary people, often insignificant nobodies. Now, let us probe into the reasons behind the rise of the English novel. As you all know, the restoration of monarchy in England in 1660 encouraged an outpouring of secular literature. appearance of periodicals such as journals and newspapers initiated a rich collage of literary criticism, political discussions, philosophical ideas, character sketches, all of which laid the groundwork for the future novel. Another important factor was the increased leisure time of the middle class and a growing audience of literate women. Besides, the growth of the printing press and circulating libraries, then salon society and the coffee house played a very vital role in the evolution of the novel as a predominant genre of the Victorian age. Finally, we will deal with the two basic distinctions with regard to prose fiction, as I have told earlier, which are the novel, the realistic novel or the novel proper, and the romance. The realistic novel is a fictional attempt to produce the effect of realism, that is to represent life as it is supposed to be, as opposed to romantic fiction which tends to present life as we would want it to be. Realistic fiction actually is a representation of life and the social order as might appear to the common reader, evoking the sense that such things might in fact happen and that such characters might well exist. A fine example is the first novel of Incident, Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, who is a distinguished master of plain prose and powerful narrative, noted for his Victorian, highly realistic detailing. Social realism was initiated in France during the 19th century by Balzac and Flaubert. Other successful practitioners of this movement in the writing of novels in the 19th century include Jane Austen and George Eliot from England, then William Dean Howells from America, and Leo Tolstoy from Russia. A subgenre of the realistic novel is the novel of manners, which is dominated by the customs and manners, habits and conventions of a particular social class, notably the upper middle class. Now, Jane Austen excelled in this literary field. Typically, her novels such as Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, and so on deal with courtship and marriage and particularly focus on domestic society rather than the larger world. An even accurate depiction of life than realism is evident in naturalism. This mode of fiction, which is a product of post-Darwinian biology in the 19th century, held that a human being exists entirely in the order of nature, and being a merely higher order animal, his behavior and character are particularly determined by two kinds of forces: heredity and environment. The French novelist Zola did much to develop this theory in his novels, which are scientific experiments on the behaviors under given conditions of the characters it depicts. A very famous English novelist who deals with naturalism is Thomas Hardy. So far I have dealt with the realistic novel, and underneath it the novel of manners and naturalism. Now I will move on to the other type of prose fiction, which is romance. The prose romance has as its predecessors the chivalric romances of the medieval age and the Gothic novel of the late 18th century. The plot of the prose fiction emphasizes adventure and is often cast in the form of a quest for an ideal or a pursuit for the enemy. Its protagonist is often solitary or relatively isolated from a social context, and the atmosphere is such as to suspend the reader's expectations that are based on everyday experience. So, to sum up, in today's introductory lecture, I have dealt with the following areas, and I am repeating again. They are definition of the novel, its features and etymology, narrative precursors and the first known novels, the purpose of developing this literary type, reasons behind the rise of the novel, particularly in England, and the two basic distinctions of prose fiction. As I have said earlier, in my next video lecture, I will be dealing with all the major types of novel and particularly with the 19th century, which saw, as I said before, great proliferation in this genre. And we all know that the Victorian age is also known as the age of the novel. So my special attention will be on this age. Meanwhile, for a better understanding of this literary type, you can please refer to certain literary terms with regard to the novel, such as plot, characters such as flat and round characters, point of view, flashback, authorial intrusion, open ending, protagonist, antagonist, anti-hero, subject, theme, motive, metafiction, and so on. Okay, so much for today. Thank you.